So half asleep, I went to sleep with my hair wet, parted the wrong way, other crazy things. It's been one heck of a day. I ain't been having crazy asthma. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write a column for Pathos called No Longer Quivering. I frequently covered the Duggars while I was doing this. So for almost 10 years, I wrote daily about the Quiverful movement, about the Duggars and others. Hey, Melanie. And the Duggars are kind of the crown royal family of Quiverful. Hey, Brendale. Brenda Lee, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I took a nap this afternoon. I am still not awake. I don't know quite what happened. I missed watching the coverage of the updates from the Sun on the Duggar trial. So I was just reading through, and everybody and their brother has been spamming me all day long going, what about this? What about that? So I thought I should probably take to the old YouTubes and talk a little bit about some of the stuff that people are asking me. What is she saying? I haven't even Angela, I'm struggling with the asthma again. I don't know why. But it is what it is, what it is, what it is. So I'm here. I don't know how long I'll be here. I took a 3-hour nap and I never do that. So I'm not quite right. So Kira, Angela, Kentucky girl, hello to everybody. So I haven't kept up on what KJ's coverage has been on the Duggars, but we all know there is no Duggar insider for her. She keeps saying that there is. There isn't. And I just have to bust this bubble too. There's a lot of things she said about the Duggars that are speculation that she was claiming from insiders that were actually from me. There were things I told her in confidence that had been gossiped about for years about the family that she took as a gospel truth and has been shouting those things. Oh, you should see this, the rest of this. It is a dress, and it's got sequins and all kinds of little beads and stuff all the way down. It's red with orange and white and some black. So this is old, but this is very comfortable. So she pretends it's news and making jokes about it. Yeah, well, that's pretty horrible because this is something serious we're talking about. I really didn't want to cover any of this. The software Josh used on dark web, it was in such poor taste, it wasn't even funny. That is just crazy. You shouldn't even. Hey, T King. Yeah, I just decided to go at the last minute because I had a lot of people with PMing me asking me stuff about the Duggar coverage. Like somebody PM'd me and asked me something about, they gave a speculation on something that I absolutely had to just bust and say, hey, there's no way that happened. In fact, let me pull it up because that was a good point. Somebody was asking me, and it happens. I get asked all kinds of crazy questions about Duggars, and there is a lot of things that are alleged that there's actually no evidence of. Okay. Okay, where was it? Okay, this is one of the rumors I saw today that people were asking me about that I absolutely have to bust. They asked me if I thought Derick was at the trial because Jim Bob had hired him to help with the defense. I'm just going to bust that one right off the top. Derick does not have a license to practice law in Arkansas. Derick never passed the bar exam. Bar exams are run twice yearly in Arkansas, like they are in a lot of places. February and July. He did not appear on the list of people who had passed the bar exam in July, even though he was graduated from his law school in Arkansas at least 2 months by that point. So he was there. He was taking notes, but if I had to speculate, I'd make an educated guess. He was taking notes for the book he's going to write because he keeps talking about this stupid book he's going to write, outing everything about the Duggars. And if I were him, I would start the book with saying, I sat in the pew not the pew. I sat in the chair and listened to the coverage, horrified that this was the ultimate, the ultimate result of what Jim Bob teaches those kids. I really think that that's why he was there. I don't think he was there to help out in any way, shape, or form. Jill is slotted to testify, and I feel kind of bad for her for having to do that. It must be a nightmare to have your essay openly announced to the entire world by your parents, to be outed as one of the ones who had that happen to them. I always feel like, depending on what the son puts out there, that she spends a narrative. That's what I think she does, and she has no idea. And she's never had any kind of real life beyond just her little tiny circle. So she doesn't have any idea how these things work. I've been watching. I've been wicked tired myself. Like, yeah, I'm actually sleeping 4 to 5 hours, such as I've been up for in some years. Oh, Brenda Lee, I'm sorry about that. My husband has issues with that. Yeah, I feel sorry for all the girls. All the girls right now are trying to sue the local cop shop for releasing their names. But here's the thing. The cop shop never released their names and never released who actually it was. That was all redacted out in the report released to the Sun, not the Sun, what am I saying? In Touch. How ironic is that? A magazine called In Touch is the one that exposed what Josh had done to his sisters. It's kind of ironic, the name. But anyway, back with that. When the police department answered this Freedom of Information Act thing years ago and gave the report to In Touch, they redacted the names of the girls. So there was no way of knowing other than making speculation based on the ages. So no one really knew for sure. It was not ever confirmed. And then Jim Bob and Michelle were on Megyn Kelly, and they told the world pretty much who the victims were. They definitely outed Jessa and Jill. If they need to sue anybody, they need to sue their parents for outing them. Broke the touching case. Always makes you feel a little creepy. Brittany, same. I think it's ironic. I mean, that to me, that's the craziest, just the whole story. And I remember when that happened because I was definitely writing a lot for Pathos at that point. And it seemed like every 20 minutes or so, there was some kind of new news that was breaking. At that point, without a crystal ball, did not even know who the Duggars were. As far as I know, she didn't even think about covering them until a year or two ago. So she doesn't have deep knowledge. So don't pay much attention to anything. She takes the Sun and others reporters and just spins it. Okay, so I wasn't surprised that Anna has been there holding Josh's hand, even though it doesn't look entirely natural when they're walking together holding hands. It looks more like this is what we have to do to shut everybody up, other than any real affection. At least that's what I'm picking up on. I'd be interested to see what people who are expert in body language would say about their body language walking to and from court. I don't think it'd be a good thing. And the big surprise today was a lot of Duggars showed up. When she said her insider is the one who made up that joke about the torrent software, really pissed me off. There is no insider for her. There's none. We both used to sometimes get contacts from the exact nameless Duggar insiders who would push things. And they may or may not have been true. It just really depended upon who you talked to when and everything like that. And you couldn't really verify all of them. Most of them, there was no basis in fact. One of them was definitely based in fact. That's what they told us, that there were law enforcement at Josh's used car lot. And that was what a lot of the testimony today had to do with the used car lot. It had to do with the software. It had to do with, I can't even remember the name of the software that they were using. I want to say Net Nanny, but I know that's not it. Let me look real quick at my little notes here and see, because I don't remember. But Joy Hannah and her husband were there. One of the brothers, some of the sister-in-laws, Justin was there. They called the fabulous David Waller's brother, Matthew Waller, which makes me laugh because that the Waller family is the link between the Duggars and the infamous Jill and David Rodriguez family in their own weird way. They're all intermeshed and intermarried. Covenant Eyes, you were right, Covenant Eyes. Covenant Eyes is not the most up-to-date thing. It doesn't even cover all of the browsers. It definitely does not cover when you partition your hard drive. You have other stuff going on. It doesn't work with Linux. There's a lot of ways to go around that. I had a good laugh about that when we were still at our old church, our old Quiverful church, when one of the guys that we knew had a problem with Porn, P-O-R-N, announced that he was providing Covenant Eyes oversight for any member who needed help staying away from the PORN. That was going to be his business. He was going to charge X amount of dollars a month. He would be your Covenant Eyes accountability partner. We laughed hard over that, my husband and I pointed out to him then the flaws in Covenant Eyes. And so Perry, I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure what the relations were on that, because I haven't read much about that one at all. But the fabulous David Waller, his brother, well, I understand, I think I read the brother has had some trouble with the law himself. He was called as a witness today. And one of the things that the prosecution did, the defense did, that was so smart and so dumb at the exact same time, was they accused Matthew Waller and another employee, one of the Williams, was it Caleb Williams? Oh, this is what I get for sleeping instead of looking at the stuff. Waller. I want to say it was Caleb Williams was the other guy. They're two also all interrelated to whomever and all friends. And I believe both men have had issues and may have gone to jail. But they pretty much, the defense tried to say that that is the people that had access and could have easily have downloaded this stuff, could have partitioned the hard drive, installed Linux, and gone into the dark web and downloaded this stuff. Covenant Eyes are watching you. I thought about doing a song like that, but not to that. That would fit with that song. But it was like, Judy in Disguise, Covenant Eyes, staring at your prawn. And it came out that Josh's Covenant Eyes watcher person was his wife, which doesn't even really fit with a lot of churches that I know of that use this and say, oh, we want all our males to use it. They actually will try and pair you up with another man in the church to be your Covenant Eyes watcher. And it just makes me laugh because, as I was saying, Covenant Eyes is not without flaws, and it's not that hard to get around. Where you have a horny fundy, you have a way. And trust me, from what I've observed and heard, the stories I've heard in my Quiverful church, they will find just about any damn way to get around the filter you could ever imagine. So Covenant Eyes, yep. Poor silly Anna. I don't know what in the heck Justin Duggar was smiling and giving thumbs up coming in and out of the courthouse. Cheerful and upbeat, he was described as he exited his brother's trial. A bright smile and 2 thumbs up. He had his wife Claire and her mother Hillary Spivey. And that's the other thing. I have been watching this, trying to figure out exactly where the line is in the Duggar family. Oh, ha, ha. Where that line is. Who exactly, I don't want to phrase this. Who exactly is lined up against Josh? Because you keep hearing, there's been rumors about this ever since Josh was arrested, that some family members are very against them, against Josh and what happened, and they're just disgusted. And then there are other family members are like, we have to support Josh no matter what. So I'm guessing that probably Justin is a supporter. I feel very sorry for poor Jill Duggar. They're calling her as a witness in this thing. It's bad enough that she's been through the trauma of being exposed to the world. It's bad enough that everybody and their brother have talked about this. It's bad enough that her parents exposed her on Megyn Kelly's show. And now she's going to have to testify to it in an open courtroom. Just seems they're willfully ignorant to what is going on. Like, hey, they all have their head, like they have their heads buried in the sand. You're exactly right. They actually do. Judge was shocked after learning he managed to score a spot on the jury to decide conflict of interest. Yeah, that client blows my mind. It kind of blows my mind that somebody related to them actually managed to get on the jury. Thank God that whoever it was outed early enough in the trial so there wouldn't cause a mistrial where they'd have to do this crap all over again. I can't imagine that. And I'm just seeing the bats coming out. It's twilight here, and the bats have just emerged. That's one of my favorite sights is when the bats come out and they fly around. They're pretty crazy looking. But I want to know where that line is. I want to know who lines up on what side of that. Josh, as always, looks smug as hell and like not a care in this world. I don't know if it's Xanax, hubris, or a belief that his daddy will never let this happen to him, but he just seems about as smug and insolent as anybody could ever get going to trial for something that horrible. I remember how important it was for all the girls who'd been abused by the gymnastic doctor to finally tell their stories of abuse and trauma. Maybe the Duggar women may feel this way. They may. They may. And I think that that'd be an excellent thing, but they have to get to that point. Nobody else can actually force them to that point. That's what makes me unhappy about the trial, is it's forcing Jill to do that, whether she's ready or not. Josh looks like he's on crack, not benzos. Oh my goodness. Josh does look like he's chemically altered, but I don't know what that would be even. Benzos and burritos. That would be one hell of a diet for the court, but he and poor Anna. I know she's standing by her man and holding his hand because that's what she's been told to do. Somebody posted a very excellent takedown of exactly why that is taught in Bill Gothard's community and how all women are told, they're less than nothing. They have no options but their man. Their man is their entire ministries, their entire lives. No matter how you may feel about something, no matter how he may have abused you or how he may have completely cheated on you or whatever, you're not allowed to have public feelings about this. You have to be stoic and smiling. Put the smiling mask on, no matter how angry you are at him, because that's your job. As the wife, you have no rights except to say, thank you, sir, may I have another. So we're seeing Anna playing that out to an extreme. She's with him, she's smiling, she acts like she doesn't have a care in the world. It's got to be breaking her heart, and she's got to be worried and wondering what she'll do if Josh is put away. It's not benzos. Yeah, I'm pretty acquainted with them too. Not because I've ever gotten hooked on them, but because sometimes with the asthma, I will have one hell of a panic attack. Not very often anymore because I never let my asthma get to the same length I used to let it to get to before treating it. But yeah, benzos are a rough thing if you take them on a regular basis. You're supposed to still support him no matter what, with a smile on your face. Melanie, that's exactly right. And I saw this exact same thing play out in my old Quiverful church, except it wasn't PORN the guy was involved with children. It was his own daughter. There was incest going on, and he went to jail for it. She lost the girl to social services and foster care, of course. And he pulled like a 25-year sentence. He pulled a long one. And as soon as he'd been away a couple of years, our pastor started talking to her about divorcing him. And I was really shocked because this is a church where divorce was thought to be the worst thing ever. And you sang the Tammy Wynette song, and you held onto his hand, and you smiled, and you brought the kids to see him in jail and all that. But in the end, the church lined up and said, hey, you've got to divorce this guy. There's no marital contract between the two of you. Whatever covenant has been broken by his actions. And she did eventually. She left him and she divorced him and didn't look back. I watch YouTube gentleman that watches trials. He said Anna never wanted to be with Josh. I do not doubt that one bit. This is also a subculture that tells you that your only option in life is to get married. And for girls, that means, especially if it's someone like Quiverful royalty, like the Duggars, if he looks sideways at you, you grab for the brass ring and you go on. And you know that Josh, before Anna, was involved with at least one other girl. I believe I heard of another courtship too. And both the courtships that were before Anna fell through because of the revelation of this type of abuse. He was involved with one of the Holt girls. Bobby Holt actually confirmed that the other day on the stand. And she's being recalled as a witness. I'm glad to see that. She probably knows where all the bodies are buried. It's just going to be a matter of getting her to actually spew them out. Oh, y'all have to tell me who that is. I would like to see who it is that's doing the body language thing, because I've been watching them walk to court, and I said something about it this morning, and people said, "What, are you weird?" And I was like, "No, I'm just watching them holding hands and walking." And it just seems like a really weird vibe there. It doesn't look to me like holding hands because you're madly in love and you're walking side by side, or holding hands just because that's what you do. It just looks weird, like something's not quite right. Yes, that was the Holt family. There were also some other things that happened with the Holts and Josh that ended the relationship, is my understanding. You can tell when someone's lying by their body language. T. King, I am not surprised. I picked up on that when I was watching Netflix Tiger King 2, episode 2, when they started interviewing the Costa Ricans. I was able to look at those guys and say, okay, that one's lying. These two are telling the truth. Because, after you've been in a culture for a while, you start picking up on people's tells when they lie. And there are a lot of big tells. A lot of people look up. I know somebody that does YouTube that looks up or sideways crazy when they're lying. And you can tell that's a tell they have. The guy said it was hard for him to study his behavior because he really did not like Josh because of the type of person he is. And I can see that because Josh is not a very nice person. He's entitled. He's a number of things. He's exposed who he is many times through the years, including by his behavior on 19 Kids and Counting and some of the other shows they've done. He's always come across as king jerk to me. I couldn't understand why Anna wanted to marry him in the first place, except for the pressure from her family to get married, and marry somebody from Quiverful royalty. Just go for it. So I think that was a lot of it with her. But like I said, it's this big incestuous family tree when you start looking at the Wallers and the Rodriguezes and what's the last name of the one that what was Anna's last name before she got married? Her family. I mean, it's all just interrelated. They tried to add the Holtz in there. Dizzy, no, you're not invisible. You're not invisible. I see you. Keller, that's it. So you got the Kellers, you got the fabulous Wallers, you have the Rodriguezes, you have the Duggars. They're all sort of intermeshed in the weird ways. And I know that it has been Jill Rodriguez's dream to get her kids married off to a Duggar and maybe get her own television show. Do you think Anna's parents have regrets now? Are they the kind of people that are like, whatever? I think they're better than the Duggars, but not by a lot because of some of their own behaviors. And some of the men that they've let their daughters marry are just not worth a plug nickel. Look at David Waller. What does he even do for a living? And it's just weird. Their whole relationship is strange. If you ever look at their various websites, their blog, the whole story of the pecan thievery. Did anybody read that? I made hay with that over at No Longer Quivering because David told a story that I thought was so illustrative of what the fundamentalist mindset is in as far as the world, the whole entitlement thing. Basically, what happened is they were staying with somebody in Georgia. The person said, oh, you can walk around this edge of these pecan fields if you want, and if you need exercise. Well, so they're leaving the next day. They noticed there were a lot of fallen pecans beneath the trees. So they got up, climbed the fence, took a bag in, and picked all these pecans. They called it gleaning. Well, guess what happened? The farmer showed up, and boy, was he mad. He didn't call it gleaning. He called it stealing. The cops were called, the whole 9 yards. And still, the fabulous David Waller was just not like fazed by that. He was thinking they were being persecuted for being Christians. Was Christian persecution? It's like, no, you jackass, you stole the pecans. So I took that story apart bit by bit and pointed out all the entitlement and stuff. The next thing you know, it was pulled off of their website. I'm throwing empty water cans everywhere. Everything I say is being repeated. He is outspoken about, and when I had a brother has been very outspoken about the whole Josh thing. When the first came out about the whole Ashley Madison thing, he was the one that urged Anna to leave Josh and said he would help her. So there are some decent people in her family. Stealing is stealing no matter how you try to slice it. Exactly, Melanie. It was just crazy. It was just crazy that this happened. That is definitely an issue caused by not having appropriate boundaries, not persecution. Boundaries seem to be a real problem in Quiverful. And like I said this on my personal blog. I said, when you walk away from this, you don't have any sense of appropriate boundaries. You will let people trample your personal boundaries and not think twice about it. You'll say, hey, that was weird, but I did it. And it's like later, it's like, why did I do that? I think for me, like stupid stuff, I just didn't have a boundary about. Like one time I went and got a, not an MRI, not a CAT scan, the sonogram thing where they come and they put the thing on you and all that. Not for pregnancy, but looking to see what was going on with my gallbladder. And while they were waiting for the results, they said, hey, do you mind if this trainee practices on you? I said, sure. Even though I'm thinking, do I really want to do this? She bruised me up so badly. It was unbelievable. I had bruises all over my torso from how hard she was. A person with appropriate boundaries would have said the first time she pressed the thing, would have said, no. I didn't have appropriate boundaries. It was just not long after I'd left, and I just gritted my teeth and how long have I been out? 15 years, Noelle. 15 years. So it takes a long time to rebuild after you come out of these things. It took me forever. I spent 2 to 3 years crying and feeling like I had been put beyond the fence away from everybody. Because one of the things that's the hardest, and this is going to be the hardest for Anna too, if she decides to leave him, if he's convicted. And I cannot see how he wouldn't be convicted unless it's all of his relatives on the jury. The thing about it is the second you evidence any doubt at all, any doubt, you start losing friends. And if you leave altogether, you lose all of your friends. I remember one time when I had an ultrasound, they had someone who was observing, asked if I was good with it. And I remember asking myself how I felt. One of the first times my answer was no. Prairie, I wasn't even in touch enough with my body to be able to say yes or no at that point. It was a strange thing. But I often think back to that ultrasound moment. It's kind of a strange thing to be so divorced from your own body that you don't recognize that you've got the right to say those things, to say, hey, stop doing that. You're harming me. So the thing with Anna is if she does decide to leave Josh, she's going to lose her entire support network. She's going to lose all her friends. She'll definitely have family members that won't have anything to do with her. And it'll crush her. You lose your friends and your family. That's exactly right. Like I said, I spent the first couple of years just crying. And every time I walked around our small Virginia town and I ran into somebody that I knew from another church or from our church, even though we just moved to the Methodist church, people would run up to me and say, how can you leave the only real and true church? I heard you left Christianity, and just all this crazy nonsense. Not to mention she has 7 kids and a newborn. Yes. It's going to take enormous amounts of courage. It's going to take brass balls to be able to leave and to survive from that, because where they live is kind of the belt buckle of the whole Bible Belt, that part of the world. I mean, there's so many Baptist churches, one after another, all through the landscape there. So it will be very difficult for her to leave. She's going to require a support system. I know she has at least one brother, and I hope her mother and father would be more supportive of her. I get the feeling that they probably would. Where the rubber met the road, they would meet their daughter's needs. It was just going to be a sad thing. You know, when my old church fell apart after I'd left and I was going to the Methodist church for some years, I started seeing some old church members. And for the first time, they started to approach me and go, what do I do next? So that's the only thing I can say that's good about leaving, is when you leave and you successfully get to the other side and you look back and go, oh, holy hell, how did that happen? How did I end up here? What? Ugh. You'll be able to help other people cross that great divide and get over there and show them that there's life, there's good life, there's even religion, there's even Jesus if you want him, just not like you wanted before. I hope she reads some of the comments on social media and realize she has a ton of support out there. I hope she does too, Amanda. And I hope that Jill is reading social media, because everyone is saying they're supporting Jill. I am too. I stand with Jill hard right now, because what she's going to do is way harder than leaving a religion. She's going to have to deal with testifying against her brother. And it's going to be the thing that severs her relationship probably forever with her controlling father. And even though it looks like Derick didn't pass the bar exam, I would love to see him write that tell-all book. Whoever writes the first tell-all book is going to be the one that's going to rake in the big bucks. Anybody that comes afterwards with their story will not be making near as much. So do careful churches not respect the verse that says adultery is a scriptural reason for divorce? Most of the time, no. Most of them say you have to forgive and forget and move on. I've been writing my book about my time in Quiverful, and I've gotten bogged down now in the part about adultery because we had a lot of adulterers at our church. I don't know any other way to put it than that. There was this one group of people that I was very friendly with, my biggest group of friends. There were four couples. We all hung out. We did things together. We went to the movies. We went dancing a couple times. We did a lot of things, including a couple of things that were kind of forbidden by our church, like the dancing. We'd go take over the karaoke bar, all of us, and we were real close. My father died, and I had to go away to Louisiana for some time. And I don't mean a lot of time, a couple of weeks. When I came back, something had changed. Later, I found out that three of the couples were involved in infidelity, two of them with each other. And it pretty much exploded the friend group. But here was the thing that blew my mind. Everyone committing adultery justified it. They justified it under the scriptures. They all had scriptural answers. They all said, look, it's not a true marriage because she is not doing X, Y, or Z. So as far as I'm concerned, the marriage contract has been broken and we're no longer married. As far as I'm concerned, I'm moving on and getting a divorce. I hope now Austin and Joy leave now too. With all the new info they're learning, they are shell-shocked. Amanda, I thought they looked shell-shocked coming out of the courtroom today. Have you seen Jill's new look? Yes, I saw it on Twitter too. She has blonde hair and it's gorgeous. She looks really beautiful and just very in control of herself for the first time. There is so much control. There's control, and there's also the twisting of the scriptures to justify anything you damn well want to do. Even if your pastor says, no, stop fooling with that other person or you have to leave church. And they're like, up yours. Scripture, blah, 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 is applicable here. And it doesn't matter. Our marriage does not work because X, Y, Z. I can divorce this person and be happy and Jesus is A-okay with it. I saw a lot of that. And I sat down the other day and I started counting all the couples I knew that were involved in adultery at the church. And it was a higher percentage than what you find out in the world when you look at the statistics, very much higher. But if you look at the statistics for the evangelical church, it's actually pretty low. And here's the thing. I know for a fact that figure is wrong because most of them won't admit to it, or if they admit to it, they do crazy crap like the ones I knew where they justify it in some horrible way. I thought that was one of the weirdest things I encountered. It was definitely one of the most discouraging things. And I believed in fidelity no matter what, no matter how unattractive you may find your spouse, no matter what. You don't do that. If you're going to do that, you leave and divorce. You don't start fooling around and then say, oh, Jesus says it's okay. I love her new hairdo too, Amanda. I think she looks gorgeous. I really hope the ones that are guilty are convicted and the innocent are allowed time to heal and find peace. That is my prayer as well for those girls. It's got to be hard. And it's interesting. We're not seeing Jessa there. Of course, it's only day two of the trial. Anything could happen. But we are seeing Austin and Joy. And I have way more respect for them than I ever thought I would have when they came there. We're seeing Derick there without Jill. And I don't think he's helping with the defense. I think he's taking notes for a book. Of course, I could always be wrong too. But Derick, piece of advice. First book out gets the big dough. Should get the big dough. Is Anna wearing the same black dress or has many different black? I don't know, Alex. I was thinking that exact same thing earlier because I was looking at that dress she wore today. I said, isn't that the same dress she wore yesterday? I mean, it has the same gold accents. It also comes above the knee like the one yesterday. I'm looking at that thinking, does she only have one black outfit? I mean, I would not necessarily wear black every day when my husband's on trial. I think I'd wear some other color. But that's just me. I would do that. Piece of advice: if you're ever called for jury duty and you don't want to be picked, wear something outlandish. They won't pick you. Yeah, I think it is the same dress. She's nursing and has to be able to nurse easily. Yes, Amy, I sure. But I don't doubt that she's pumping since she's in court. But I could be wrong too on that. They're trying to get her to look more mainstream. Amanda, that's what I was thinking that suit looking dress she's wearing is all about. It's all about having them look less freaky, like less like they're outliers. So that because the public eyes on them are from around the world. There are big news outlets that are there that are watching this thing. Zippers, yes, sinful zippers. I laughed when I saw how many zippers were on that dress that she had one going straight down. Zippers. Yep. Less fundy, exactly. Well, at least one thing, even if she wore her fundy gear, at least it's nothing like the fundy gear we used to have at our old church. We all wore those jumpers with blouse underneath, with first with the countenance enhancing collars or very frilly sleeves, ruffles up around your neck, anything that draws the eye upward to the face and away from the body. And the body which you have buried under 10 tons of calico. I don't think that's a good look for anybody. Maybe back in the Little House on the Prairie days, but not now. It does give the impression that she's in mourning, and that's really. Hey, Claire, yeah, the calico. Nobody's wearing calico, Claire. Nobody is wearing their little fundy jumpers that we used to wear with the giant collars. I had several of them. The colors were so worked and had lace and cut work, and it was just crazy. And I look back and think, what the hell was I thinking? That's got to be the ugliest outfit I've ever seen. I mean, I have a body like a potato, but I did look like a potato in calico. They've been wrapped in calico, so there was that. So this whole thing is crazy, and I'm very curious about Derick and the bar exam. He clearly did not pass the bar exam in July. He can't take it again until February. I don't know what he's doing now to support his family. Maybe he's doing Shipt and delivering pizza still. Maybe he's working as a clerk in a law office. I don't know if you've passed all your classwork for law school and you haven't gotten your bar exam passed, how many job options there are out there. I do know that it's kind of scramble and claw and fight for positions at different law firms, even after you've passed. I would die if I had to wear those type shirts. I can't even stand anything like. I can't now. Amanda, you see, I don't have anything up around my neck because I can't stand it. In fact, sometimes the hair gets too much around my neck, and I just got to fling it off to the side or stick it up over my head. So there's that. And Michelle used to wear those things, Michelle Duggar, and make all the little girls. The little girls had those jumpers too. I've seen pictures of them. And that's another thing about the Duggars that's interesting, is since they first came on the air to now, there's been a huge push to become more mainstream. Every special, they changed something they were doing so that we could see that they were doing something mainstream. You know, the first couple of specials featured the collars and the stupid jumpers. They finally went away for blouses and skirts, floor length skirts, of course, but more normal than what you would normally see. They started out at first serving kids just the most gross prepackaged crap. And then they took an effort to show us they were giving the kids oranges and other fresh fruits and vegetables. Oh, they've upgraded everything, Amanda. They have upgraded how they dress. They've hidden what they say about child discipline because of the reaction of the world when they discovered what blanket training was, which is Michelle explained in the very first special. They've never repeated that, but they still practice it. If you don't believe me, there's a couple of people who have recent books with quotes by Jim Bob Recent quotes, doubling down on the Michael Pearl, beat those kids silly. And that's another thing that I have to address in this whole live stream, that a certain person is with a box of Kleenex has been saying. She is saying that the ATI world is built upon violence. That is absolutely not true. The ATI does not even rubber stamp the Michael Pearl thing of beating your children with a 1/4-inch plumbing line. ATI does not teach that. They don't teach as much child discipline as Michael Pearl and to train up a child and some of the other ministries. I used to like Dr. James Dobson for some years until I realized that his story of beating his dachshund into submission was pretty crazy. Who does that to a dog, number one? It's just abusive. And number two, what kind of a wimpy man is he that the only thing that he can master and get control of is a stupid dog, a little dog, not even a big dog. And remember when blanket training was the worst thing we thought about the Duggars? Yes, Amanda, I remember when that was the absolute worst thing. That and thinking that Josh was a smug little jerk. Never dreaming that there were many more worse things lurking than blanket training. That is, yeah, who knew? I've always been an opponent of the whole courtship thing with no dating, because dating is how we learn to be socialized and how we treat with the opposite sex. It does serve some pretty important roles for socialization that Fundy Town just skips and says, okay, first guy that shows an interest in you, first guy you're interested in, marry him. That is, I was saying earlier, the 3 other couples that were part of our friend group, the 3 that cheated had all been married at the ages 16 to 19. And they were all in their late 30s at that point. Nobody was happy with their person they married in their teenagehood. People change, and that's not a sin. I'm not a big fan of getting married much before 30, even though I got to say I did it twice. The second time was closer to 30, a lot closer to 30. Yes, court is over, Alex, for today. And it's rumored that tomorrow Jill may be taking the stand. I don't know. I know that the defense attorneys have tried to make it seem like these other 2 employees that are related to these other fundamentalist families are the ones that downloaded it. But I don't think they were very successful at that. Josh's attorney may be a big, high-powered mouthpiece, but that's literally all he has. And we heard that that was going to be the strategy before the trial. And the other thing that Josh keeps hinting out is that he's going to throw his parents under the bus and explain that this is all his parents' fault for how they raised him. And there's some truth to that. But at the same time, be a man, Josh. You're in your 30s. Admit what you did, go to jail, serve your time, and move on with your life. Stop trying to have excuses for every dumb thing in the world. This is a boy, man, that has never had real life consequences for anything he's done wrong. The most consequences he's ever had is to get sent to these ATI, IBLP approved camps to study the Bible and do construction work, instead of actually go to a therapist that treats sexual disorders or difficulty in sexuality with teenagers. Instead of taking him to somebody like that, could have treated him, and maybe we wouldn't even be in this place now with him. I hope she speaks her truth loud and proud, and it's not only freeing for her, but healing as well. Team Jill Dillard. And that's how I'm going to end it today, because my throat, it feels like I've been gargling with sandpaper. I don't know what the hell is going on with my stupid body right now, but it ain't happy. And it doesn't like me at all right now. So I'm going to go ahead on and go. It's been almost 50 minutes. And just stay tuned, because I am going to try and discuss this every afternoon, because there's so many things that this trial is bringing out to discuss, even if it's something just as Small is looking at Derick and going, okay, Derick, why didn't you pass the bar exam? What happened there? And I can't fault Derick too much because I did read an article that just came out that talked about the low pass rate this year. They were trying to figure out why this year so many people tanked. It was a significant number washed out. And they figured it has something to do with the pandemic and the way learning happened during the pandemic. And they had problems at a couple testing centers where the test just went completely down off the screen. It was a number of things that went haywire, apparently. So, Derick, study hard, pass in February. Jill, we stand with you. We want you to shout out what you need to shout out and move on. Your family's toxic. I hate to say that. Nobody wants to hear that about themselves. I was thinking about doing all positives for the month of December. I told everybody I would, but I forgot. We got to discuss this. We have to discuss this. I'm sorry. I would like to do a few streams about surviving the holidays because while a lot of people I know love the holidays, they love a lot of us find it very stressful. And some people find it even quite depressing. You know, I got up this morning and my brain was in the dumps. I don't even know why, except that I will say this. Right before I have very bad asthma, I will either get extremely depressed or extremely hostile. And I will take the depression over the hostile any day of the week. So I don't know if that's what's going on with me right now, but something is going on. So I was sitting around this morning thinking, making notes about the holidays. Because I remember the holidays. My father died in November 15th of 1999. Or was it the 13th? It was somewhere around in there. I want to say it was the 15th. That's what my brain interprets it. So Thanksgiving that year was really hard, and so was Christmas. So I started thinking about that this morning. We need to talk about the things we can do when we're not experiencing a happy holidays for any reason. So that's going to be coming up. We're going to talk about that. Yes, and bar is hard. You have to really study for it. So that's it. We're going to have to think about it. Of course, she's turning off commenting because everybody will tell her she took all of her information from the Sun. I have to say before I go, God bless the Sun. God bless you guys, because they have somebody in there who's doing what good reporters do. They're making notes and they're filing their news reports over the phone when the breaks come. So she has been griping and grasping about how they somehow have smuggled some kind of device in. No, KJ, that is how good reporting, good journalism works in these things. You take notes, you file your report on the phone, and you move on. Oh, Claire, yes. I'm thinking on that right now. Like I said this morning, I got up all down in the dumps and I was thinking about my late father and various things and started thinking about that too. So yeah, I'm going to be thinking on that and making some notes and figuring stuff out because the holidays aren't happy for everybody. And I think that our world is not set up for that. It's set up for, but it's not quite like that. One of my all-time favorite Christmas movies, and I just have to suggest this to anybody struggling, is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. While they did have a Merry Christmas and it was jolly, they had practically every kind of crazy circumstance to overcome, from Budinsky relatives to nasty neighbors to crazy things going wrong. Clark wanted to have a perfect holiday, and his perfect holiday turned out to be perfectly imperfect. Or Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday would be good for that. Could be because the unreal expectations of Christmas are so commercial. Let me know if you have any time this weekend. I'll set something up. Or Tuesday. Probably Tuesday. Because I'm feeling like goo and scraped off the road right now. So I don't, my brain isn't even thinking right now. But I felt like I had to actually talk about this stupid trial, which I wish that somebody would just erase the Duggars out of my brain. I really don't want to have to think about them anymore, except for Jill. Go, Jill, and write that book, Jill. If Derick won't write it, you write it. Write it. And we'd all buy it. I'm sure we would. We'd all support Jill in this thing. So anyway, okay, you guys, I got to go now. I'm just flaking out like crazy. I'll see you later. Claire, I will get with you about that because I think it's something important we need to talk about in the wake of the holidays is how to survive them, how to survive your own emotions, how to survive your family, everything else. And I could tell horror stories too because my family is very Clark W. Griswold. We have all kinds of things happen. And it can be hard to get through. Okay, you guys, have a good evening. I'm going to go.